canceled my next trip to the United States. I was looking forward to it as well. Like, beautiful places, lovely people. In fact, I even have both friends and actually some relatives in Maine, but I've canceled it because ICE, or whatever the hell it is detaining people. I mean, they detained a young Canadian for 10 days. They apparently arrested a bunch of Germans recently. They're going through people's phones. Like, this is meant to be you. The United States is meant to be the beacon of democracy and freedom and so forth. Well, it is anything but. This is what fascism actually looks like. It is awful in North Korea, and it is awful in Saudi Arabia, and it is awful in Iran. So we can all be honest about that. But when that sort of thing settles in to what we consider to be the free world, that is the erosion of any value that we actually stand for. So I bring business to the United States, right? I run tours. Well, I'm not going to now. It's shocking, but I woke up 3 days in a row worrying about flying down there, and then I talked to someone I know kind of on the inside who said, don't fly in if you're not an American citizen. Like, this is how terrible it is at the moment. So, it's sad and it's shocking, but hey, I'm off to Europe in a few days. I can fly down to South America, a lot of beautiful places.
Vegas is losing tourism. I've been hearing about this everywhere, seeing this on my FYP, and I'm like, what are they talking about? I live here, the strip is literally right here. I can see it through my bedroom window, and I'm like, there's always people here. What do you mean tourism is down? But you know how I can confirm this? I just heard back from a huge job opportunity telling me that the job has been put on hold indefinitely because specifically lack of tourism. Like, I'm so grateful they gave me such a specific reason, and it's just crazy to me. Jobs are being cut, and it's true what the locals have been saying on my FYP here, that tourism is just done, and it's primarily because of, like, increased prices. I mean, I did just go to town, the beach club thing to see Zed. The drinks were $50 each. I don't know if that's a normal thing. Always has been. I don't know, but $50 drinks, that's wild. That was like the cheapest one.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report. In today's video, we're going to talk about US tourism plummeting due to DT travel bans and tourists cancelling their trips. The US is facing a major blow to its tourism industry as international travelers cancel their plans in droves. What used to be one of the most visited and admired countries in the world is now becoming a destination many people are actively avoiding. Why? Because the combination of widespread ICE raids, aggressive immigration crackdowns, and multiple travel bans has created a climate of fear, distrust, and frustration. Tourists who once dreamed of visiting New York, LA, Las Vegas, or Miami are now booking trips to Canada, Europe, or even staying home. Anywhere but America. If this is the kind of content you enjoy, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing so that YouTube may recommend it to a wider audience. And so now, without further ado guys, let's go straight into this video. But first, let me play you a few videos on this matter, and I'll come back with my commentary. As a side note, all credit goes to the creators of these videos.
Alright, so I think I uncovered a pretty big scandal. Las Vegas is definitely in the find-out phase of a significant drop in tourism and tariffs, obviously. I posted a video about this that got a lot of attention and a lot of criticism, people saying it wasn't true. And a lot of local Las Vegas quote-unquote influencers were going around really challenging the narrative, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. Well, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority just released their budget, and it's bad. This is the tourism board for Las Vegas, and it is funded by room tax revenue. So in other words, rooms are taxed, they get their money for their operations. Their job is to, like, promote Las Vegas. And their budget for next year is pretty bad. They're expecting a 5% decline in room tax revenue, which is huge. But they also acknowledged in reporting yesterday a 5.9% decline in tourism from Canada, a 2.8% decline in tourism from Mexico, and a significant drop in tourism domestically. Now remember, this is the agency that is funded by room tax revenue. It's going to be so bad that they're going to literally spend into their budget, they're going to deficit spend, like spending on a credit card, $51 million of deficit spending That is because less people will be spending money in Las Vegas and generating tax revenue, but also because they are so concerned about tourism that they're going to spend an additional $37 million on advertisement, which incidentally I think is a bad strategy. So the data is all there, but that's not the scandal. The scandal is the newspaper that first reported this yesterday, the Las Vegas Sun, clearly had some kind of incident or pressure, clearly wanted to change the narrative, and here's why we know this. The initial headline for this was LVCVA to tap rainy day fund as tourism dips. That's a shocking headline, and it got a lot of attention yesterday. But for some reason, they changed the title of the story to Tourism Board Plans for Marketing Spending Boost. That's a big change. That's a huge change. The Las Vegas Review-Journal also reported on this, but they were so rosy in their reporting that I'm not even going to cover it. They covered it with the headline, LVCVA board gets first look at $460 million budget, expects dip in tax revenue. So they won't even just say we're going to get less tourists. They're saying we're going to get less tax revenue. That's a scandal. But the Sun specifically changed the headline from the printed newspaper to what's on the internet today, and that is a scandal. First of all, it's not acknowledged anywhere on their site that they changed that headline, and you should editorially have acknowledged that. But the second question is, why? Why change the headline? Why change the headline? Yeah, I'm calling from a local TikTok channel here, The Unraveling, on a recorded line. We're calling about this story yesterday, which was the tourism story about LVCVA. So we're just calling because the title of that story was changed from...
So I just spoke with the reporter and the change has been made online.
Okay, so the change was made?
Yes.
Okay. So I also talked to the reporter who actually wrote the story, and he told me essentially that he used that term colloquially, and there's a difference between deficit spending, which we talked about, and the rainy day fund. But the fact of the matter is, LVCVA is deficit spending. It is, and that's a big deal. And changing the headline without acknowledging the headline change from the printed version of the paper, I think something else is at play. And I think it tells us a story that we've already known about Las Vegas, which is local elected leaders and people like the media in Las Vegas simply are not willing to tell the truth. In this specific situation, a dramatic drop in tourism as the result of tariffs and fear to travel to the United States, combined with what have been years of essentially price gouging by casino executives, is putting us in a precarious financial situation. That's the headline. That's the headline. But we can't even change and report on basic fact anymore in Las Vegas. And when we do, whether that was pressure, whether that was someone got a phone call, they literally changed the headline of a story about how bad it's about to get to make it look like it wasn't going to be that bad. And that, from a newspaper in America, is a scandal.
His travel ban list of different black and brown countries that it won't be long until he extends this to the rest of the Caribbean and the rest of the continent of Africa. And sure enough, in a leaked document signed by either DeSantis or Cruz, he extended the ban to pretty much the entire continent of Africa, all the countries located, and the Caribbean. Now people are talking about FIFA and the Olympics organization considering moving the World Cup and the Olympics out of LA as well as other areas that are hosting in the US. I know Atlanta's hosting one of the games for 2026. You'll already see artists basically say, hey, we gotta cancel this. We are not doing a US lay because of visa issues, because of immigration issues. There's no way the US can host any international event with these immigration and travel ban policy. And I will not be shocked if FIFA is having a lot of meetings, a lot of Zoom calls to possibly move their games to other safer countries.
Nowhere is the fallout more visible.
So today's video, I'm just showing you the result of having policies that are so anti-foreign. American foreign tourism has fallen down. Business people, they're making losses. People are losing jobs. People are wondering how they're going to survive, especially if you're in the hospitality industry, especially if you're in the food sector, and maybe your town, maybe your state is heavily dependent on tourism. For example, Las Vegas. Las Vegas right now, they are complaining. They're saying that tourism has gone down, and now the tourism board in Las Vegas, they're trying to come up with a budget where they're going to promote Las Vegas to foreigners across the world. For the longest time, everybody wants to visit Las Vegas. Everybody wants to see the casinos. Everybody wants to see the famous casino that you see in the movies, in the Hollywood movies. Everybody wants to see the Las Vegas rodeo, where you go in and you see all this whole line of casinos that are constantly being shown on Hollywood movies. Right now, tourists, they're turning away from visiting America because of the policies that are being put in place. If you have relatives, if you have friends who are in America, they'll tell you, no, right now is not the best time to visit America. Come when the country is friendlier to foreigners. That's basically the message that people are getting when they look at what American citizens are saying to foreigners, especially if they're planning to visit, to pay a visit. If you look at the ICE raids right now that are being carried out across the country, you see how people are literally being picked from the streets. If you're a foreigner, you see people are being picked from the restaurants. You see people are being picked from schools. You see people are being picked from left, right, and center if you're a foreigner. So right now, if you don't have American citizenship and you're in America, you have to be very, very careful. So for tourists, when they want to visit a country, what do? Of course, they tour the whole country. They want to tour the cities. They want to tour the nightclubs. They want to tour the restaurant. They want to tour the hotels. They want to tour every sightseeing area in the country. So if you see a country that is hostile to tourists or is hostile to foreigners, and they're picking people left, right, and center, of course, as a tourist who wants to visit, you're going to get scared. You're going to be afraid. You'll be wondering, okay, so what happens if I find myself in the wrong side of America? What happens if I encounter these ICE people? Will they look at my status? Will they know that I'm a tourist? Will they know that, you know what, I'm only here visiting? So people are trying to avoid that situation where they encounter themselves with the ICE people who are literally picking people from the streets and take them to these detention centers. And then once you're in the detention center, you're going to be questioned for hours and hours. And if your story is not straight, if they find like you're being fishy, they might literally deport you to countries which originally is not your home. So right now we're being told most people who are in the detention center of ICE, they're going to be taken to Salvador. So Salvador, everybody knows what's happening in Salvador. There's this huge prison where they prison so many people over there. So some Americans have already been taken over there, and there's a huge cry about it. But unfortunately, the policy has already been put in place, and it's been happening for a long time right now. Anyway, back to tourists. So right now, business people are being affected. People are losing jobs, and they're crying, and they're wondering what's going to happen next. So for the next 2-3 years down the line, this is what's going to happen in America. So people need to just tighten the seatbelt, come up with alternatives, plan A, B, C, so that you can cushion yourself in case you're in the hospitality industry to know, you know, how I'm going to take care of myself, how am I going to pay my bills, just in case you're going to lose your job. And for those who are into businesses, into the hospitality industry, if you're directly affected by tourism, and you're depending on that, maybe you think of a plan B, C on how you're going to make sure your business is going to be cushioned, because at the end of the day, this situation is going to last for a period of time, and for the next 2, 3, 4 years down the line, only time will tell. Let me know what you think about the tourism that's happening in America, and drop your comment, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel.